Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very, very good evening. Sunday the 29th of... Set my chair down if I can. He says, trying to find the... wherever it is. There you go. A very, very good evening. Sunday the 29th of June 2025. My name is Raj Emir. This is a Reckitt 9 transmission. And a very, very good evening to... They're not here. It's all a load of nonsense. They're not here. It's all a load of nonsense. Thank you very, very much, Chris. Thank you for the super chat already. A couple of super chats have come in already. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Denise. And of course, thank you, Darcy, for getting things rolling. Okay, listen. It's very, very straightforward. I am my own man. I've always been my own man. And I have done things my way. For better or worse, I've done things my way, and I've got us, or helped at the very least, helped get us to where we are. You can take it or leave it, I suppose. And what is going on at the moment? Actually, it's not reform. It's not Reform headquarters, and I'll tell you why it's not Reform headquarters. Let me bring some things up. Because I don't share everything with you at the exact same time. Here I am on Tuesday. I was in London. 9:30 I was at these offices at the back of Mayfair. I was meeting with senior individuals from Reform who I have been speaking with about something very, very specific. Now, there's a reason why so many people have a dislike for me, shall we say. And one of them is, when we started campaigning in Oldham, we were very clear on what we wanted to achieve, which was force this public inquiry and force a vote to write to the government to force the public inquiry. And what we did was we lobbied councillors in a way and politicised them. Some say bullied them. I didn't bully them. We lobbied them. You don't bully councillors, you lobby them. And we lobbied them so the Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats, the Independents all understood that we understood how the game was played. So simply writing posts on Facebook or issuing statements in the Oldham Times or the Oldham Chronicle, the Manchester Evening News, was just gesture politics. And I educated probably about 500 people in this town, comfortably 500 people in this town, to look beyond the gesture politics. And there are certain powers that opposition councillors have. And one of them was to present motions in a council meeting that people vote on. And we presented those motions and they got voted down, and we presented other motions. And I taught an entire town, an entire borough, not just how to write these motions, but the purpose of these motions was also not getting answers, but provoking a reaction from the Labour Party politicians that we then used to add more pressure on them and used in leaflets to remove them from power. If you remember, Most of you weren't with me then. But if you remember, those of you who were, will remember how I supported a woman called Maggie Hurley, who's now a councillor. Doesn't speak to me now. I'm, shit off her shoe now. But she would never have been a councillor without my support, independent councillor, and we got her to remove Labour Party politicians. And in the lead up to her standing, we got her to submit freedom of information requests, submit questions to the council in a way where they had to be read out, knowing full well that what was going to be read out was going to be a load of nonsense. But I wanted that load of nonsense because then I could put it on leaflets, use it in posts to further incite, provoke a reaction from the members of the public that these people are not for us and we will win. So that's what I did. And I do not believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, I do not believe we would be where we are if I hadn't done that. Now, fast forward to 2025, and we are doing the same in government. You can see we're doing the same in government. We're having opposition MPs take our work, almost word for word mirror what we've got to say. And here we are, doing the same. And again, the only people who've been opposed to me during all of this time have been the Labour Party, of course, the Conservatives and the Lib Dems when it didn't suit them, and the Independents when they decided that they were going to try and renege on their pledges that they'd made to me, you, and everyone else. And I held their feet to the fire, and we forced them to vote through on a motion that wrote to the government for a public inquiry that the government then, said no to, which we knew they were going to say no to because we needed to bring you, the rest of the country, into this fight. And we did, and we succeeded. Now you can all say, Raja, you're talking nonsense, you never did all of that. And of course not all of it was in my control, but that was the game plan. That was the game plan from the outset. So I say to you now, why would I change? Why would I change? I'm not here to make friends out of politicians. Why would I change? So, I make no excuse for this. Over the last few months, I've been very clear to all of you that if we are to mobilise across the country, because now we're a platform across the country, if we are to mobilise, we've got to get behind reform. Now, if you don't like reform, that's fine. But in many other places in this country, they're the only show in town. And if Rupert Lowe or Ben Habib or someone was to form their own party, then of course I would look at it. I would, critique it the same as I critique everything else and point it in your direction in the places where I think it would be of use and value, where we can remove Labour Party politicians. Now, where have I ever criticised reform here? In fact, some of you have got a bit heated at me because I supported them. So where have I ever criticised them? I haven't, have I? And that's done that nonsense again. That's easily done this time. Where have I criticised them? So we agree on that. I've never criticised them. Where I have criticised my local branch has been on its Facebook page. And now when I say local branch, the Oldham branch, because I won't tolerate racism. I won't tolerate race baiting, outright prejudice and hatred. I'm a brown-faced Muslim man fighting for white working class girls because I believe that what's been committed to them were racially motivated crimes, religiously justified. People from within my own community want to kill me because of that. I've done that because of my beliefs. And if I have a set of beliefs where I am opposed to prejudice, I'll call prejudice out wherever I see it. And my own family members, my close friends were sending me messages, people who had convinced at the time, by the way, to vote for, because the local reform branch are basically they've jumped on a bandwagon, and they're the old proud of Oldham and Saddleworth lot. And these include people who I encourage people to vote for. And they come back to me and said, Roger, have you seen this? You told me to vote for this man and he's a racist. And they're showing me posts. I didn't go and start shouting and screaming, racist, racist, do something about it. I'm encouraging them. Try and see the best in you. Reform won't win if you're spreading hate. The majority of this country aren't into that. They won't do it. That isn't to say you can't deal with some of these issues, but spreading hatred wasn't going to do it. And for instance, spreading racism included, like, they're having a conversation in this day and age about making reference to people as packies on a local page. And that's just one example. There's many examples. And that's what I did. So here I am on Tuesday, meeting with people in Reform, and do you know what we're trying to do? So we're clear. And there was a question asked about postal voting. We're trying to get Reform to a place where they understand how postal vote fraud takes place, how so many of you are disenfranchised, particularly in the working class communities where there's a Pakistani block vote, a Muslim block vote, and how it's unlawfully coordinated, an open secret. And what we are on a parallel journey with the grooming gangs is to try and safeguard our democracy and devise and develop something that over the fullness of time will feature in, at the very least, in Reform's manifesto about postal votes and revamping that so it goes to a postal vote based on need rather than demand. So, you know, if you're in hospital, if you're a soldier serving overseas, that sort of stuff. And in the lead up to that, because we got 3 elections, to go and do some deep dives into towns across the country where this takes place, the fraud that is, the harvesting of postal votes, maybe convince Charlie Peters to come along with us. You understand what I'm doing, you understand how I operate. So that's where I was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'm meeting survivors and their families. I shared a video earlier. I'll play it in a second so you can watch it yourselves here if you haven't seen it. I shared a video earlier. You know I'm part of Rupert Lowe's team. I'm proud to be part of Rupert Lowe's team. I ain't got an issue with, I ain't got a political allegiance to Rupert Lowe. I'm proud to be part of the rape gang inquiry that is genuinely doing some amazing work. If Nigel Farage had set something up and asked me, I'd have supported him. If Kemi Badenoch had set something up and asked me, I'd have supported her. I'd have supported both of them even if they hadn't asked me with the best of my abilities. Rupert Lowe got in touch with me and asked me. You all asked me to get involved in it. So there I am. Helping. And it's a matter of public record. I take no money. I refuse a wage as they've offered me equipment and stuff. Nothing. I take absolutely nothing. I'm proud that I'm funded by you. And so, to give you an update, we have so far received testimony from just, I think it's 49 or 50 towns and cities across the country. Survivors, victims, family members, whistleblowers. 50 towns and cities. There's no GB News, no BBC, none of them are promoting us. The rape gang inquiry is funded by the people and it's promoted by the people. And I went on Wednesday and met with a parent of a survivor, and I spoke to the survivor. I spoke with my friend Sammy Woodhouse, and she'll come and take testimony. And these people will stand in front of the cameras and share their stories. So there I am, doing that, speaking with the back office of the rape gang inquiry team, a young man called Rob, meeting with him, looking at the charts, thinking, okay, where are we short? Where do we know that the rape gangs were prolific, but the witnesses haven't come forward yet? And we know why the witnesses aren't coming forward. It's because they're scared. It's because they think nothing will happen. So where are the witnesses not coming forward? And it was agreed that I would go into these towns and cities, because it's what I do, and try and identify, encourage and support survivors and whistleblowers to come forward. So that's what I'm doing. I then get a phone call on the Thursday. And I think some of you my Oldham supporters I've joined Reform. Of course you've joined Reform. I've asked everyone to join Reform. In Tameside, Rochdale, wherever I said to people, join Reform. So some of you have joined Reform. You're politically educated. And you've gone over to the local branch. And it seems some craziness has gone on with the people there. I don't know what. I'm not involved. I've avoided the pettiness. I'm not involved. You can see what I'm involved in and what I'm trying to do. Thank you. There you go. And apparently the chairman, a man called Paul Eric, the treasurer, Paul Robinson, who's here, no doubt, he's one of my supporters, or was. The hypocrisy is mind-blowing. And they were criticising me, and I got broad shoulders. I released a statement on Wednesday. It's all right. Say what you want about me. I'm not going to get drawn in. Abuse me. Call me divisive, I think was the term. Divisive, trouble causer. Do all that. It makes no difference. I knew what I needed to do to get us this far. But then I got a text message. And that was uncalled for. Absolutely uncalled for. And it was from someone concerned. Have you seen this? This is from Paul Robinson. I am hoping Raja shows part of the video on Sunday, as Reform's lawyers are going to watch and then prosecute. So Reform's lawyers are going to watch my content and then prosecute me. According to this guy. And I'm thinking, what video? You're all here. You've all been watching me for months and months and months. All I do week in, week out is talk about the cover-up of the rape gangs and how we can react and respond. I've helped nudge it along, so we've got this national inquiry. I've educated God knows how many politicians and their advisors. What video are Reform's lawyers going to watch and then prosecute me over? And I flipped. I absolutely flipped, because this crossed the line. This is being shared to people, and all this time I'm trying to go and speak to whistleblowers, survivors and their families, trying to encourage them to speak out. And these bastards are trying to scare people off from talking with me, engaging with me. Well, the only video, George, the only video I had lined up for this week, one happened by accident, which is the arrest of Operation Sherwood, and we'll talk about. But the only video I had planned and scheduled is the one I released earlier, which is about Waterhead School and how the school and the council and the authorities covered up the rape gangs. There's a new man at the top of Reform. I dropped him a message. Got his phone number. I've got people in Reform. I got his phone number. He wouldn't respond. And I thought, okay, now it's crossed the line. Now it's serious. Because what these people are doing is interfering with my ability to support survivors and whistleblowers. And for me, that's unacceptable. Call me whatever name you want. I don't care. But to get involved in this is absolute nonsense. He then, of course, resigns. After I put it out there. It was me that sent the message. It is 2 parts from different conversations. Bullshit. What's 2 parts from this? I am hoping Raja shows parts of the video on Sunday as Reform's lawyers are going to watch and then prosecute. This guy's the treasurer, or was the treasurer. I did not want Raja to destroy the last hope of a relationship with Reform nationally. What does he know about my relationship with Reform? I'm not one of those brash guys that needs to take a photograph with everyone wherever I go. It's not my style. Paul, I'm telling you now, I was meeting with senior Reform people in London on Tuesday. And I've told you why. But it's not my style to go and take photographs with people and TikTok it away and stuff. So I'm not sure what last hope of a relationship and how you think by threatening me with lawyers, and actually not threatening me, sending messages out that gets to survivors, that speaking to me will be problematic. The town must come together to resolve its issues. And Raja cannot do this without Reform. So that sentence sounds as though I've been criticising Reform and saying don't support Reform. Again, where have I criticised Reform? I've criticised the filthy racists on your Facebook page, Paul. I have nothing but respect for Raja for what he has done in highlighting the rape gangs. I'll show you the contradiction in a moment. But that will not be enough to get a majority in Oldham. Paul belongs to a group called Oldham, Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, with Paul Eric and Simon Hodgson and Paul Stevenson, who've taken over Reform in Oldham. They've just jumped on the bandwagon and took it over. They never won an election in their lives. And I agree with that, Jackie, until I raise this point. Why are Reform allowing this? It is to do with Reform UK because these are the people who are responsible for the local branch. However, there are too many people that want division who are supposed to want the same thing. Where have I said anything about wanting division? And he's resigned. But here, I've got a snippet of a video someone has since sent me. I've got several videos. I don't want to show you the other ones because they take you to a dark place and I don't want to, you know, get drawn into a fight. But I've got a little snippet I want to show you.
I'll tell you a story. Right. A couple of years ago, you might know the day, 7th of October, when all the Israelis were being slaughtered. And I became part of the rabble.
Hold on.
I wanted to see what was happening with Oldham. The first thing that came up on the website, on the internet, was Roger Mir. I worshipped that guy, the education he gave me while I was over there. And I became part of the rabble, and because I really thought, and he's done a remarkable job for the child sex grooming.
Yeah.
I can't take that away from him. However, Raja also has a reputation of being divisive. He's a very good campaigner, second to none. When it comes to leadership and bringing a team together, unfortunately it doesn't work out. He's been with all the parties in Oldham, Labour, Tories, Lib Dems, and he's caused division. Reform got wind of this, and Reform will not touch Raja. And now he's with Rupert Law, and you know what the reputation is with Rupert Law with Reform. Raja.
So, this is the Reform meeting on Wednesday. I have a reputation that is divisive. No, I have principles. I have an issue with leadership. People don't follow me. I've caused division. Apparently I've been with all the political parties. I haven't. I've been campaigning on a public inquiry, and to support that public inquiry, as a campaigner, I have to speak with all the political parties and try and encourage them to vote. That's what campaigners do. That's what campaigners do. But Reform have got wind of this apparently, and they won't touch me. I was in a meeting with their people on Tuesday. Who in Reform have got wind of this? Yeah. And then I'm with Rupert Lowe. I'm with the rape gang inquiry team that includes an MP from Reform. It includes Esther McVeigh. It's cross-party. It was supported by 20,000 people. Are you saying that me volunteering my time to help deliver justice for 20,000, crowdfunded by 20,000 people, where the victims number the hundreds of thousands? It's crazy, isn't it? Tell me this is right. But he's not gone, mate, because he is not saying this in isolation. But listen to this some more. I'll play it again. Go backwards.
Labour, Tories, Lib Dems, and it's caused division. Reform got wind of this, and Reform will not touch Raja. And now he's with Rupert Law, and you know what the reputation is with Rupert Law with Reform. Raja will not be accepted within Reform, unfortunately.
But it's
I think it is because some of the people tonight who tried to disrupt this meeting are all the followers of Raja, aren't you?
No, that's absolutely 100%. Absolutely.
You want to know why you were taken off Facebook?
Yes, I do. Stop it, answer.
Because Raja on his Sunday night broadcast, he slated Reform, and you're his right-hand man.
I suggest you all go.
Okay. So there, he's just confirmed to Gary Tarbuck, who went to the meeting, he's joined Reform, again of his own volition. I don't tell any of you what to do. I encourage people, I support people, but I don't tell you what to do. We've not won this because I somehow control people. We've won this because you've been educated, empowered, and elevated, and then you've gone and done the right thing. So now what he's also saying is people who associate themselves with me will be punished by Reform. And in the context of Gary Tarbuck, punished by being banned off their Facebook page. I know Rupert Lowe no longer holds the Reform whip. I get that. But there is a Reform MP on the grooming gang, on the rape gang inquiry team. So where in this am I wrong? Where in this am I wrong? Have I sent people to this meeting? No. People went of their own volition. I'm speaking at Reform meetings, telling them what's happened, how they can mobilise, how they can get educated. I go and meet Reform councillors, brand new councillors, and share with them how I think they can go about things and what to watch out for. I do that of my own free will, at my own cost. I have Reform supporters here from across the country. Reform councillors contact me and tell me they'll listen to me. So he's said here, I'm divisive, I'm a trouble causer, I have no leadership skills, I've been with all the political parties, and Reform won't touch me. And Reform will also punish anyone else who associates themselves with me. And what I say to all of you, go and join Reform. Right now, if you want rid of Labour, if you've had enough of the Uni Party, this is the party, especially at a local level, you can still influence. Listen to the rest of it.
Watch that video and make your own minds up, rather than this guy telling you what he wants to tell you with a microphone.
He's never
Make your own
slated
minds,
Reform.
have a look.
He's never slated
He's the
Reform.
reason we are down to 27 councillors from Labour from 48. He's the man
Absolutely.
who's done that. He's the man who has taken 3 leaders out of this town by coordinating campaigns for 6 years. If it wasn't for Raj and Mia, we wouldn't be here now.
Correct.
Your group, I hear
I'm not Paul.
You're talking nonsense there. Nonsense.
At the regional level, Reform will not accept Raja. It's got nothing to do with us.
Yes, it has. Mr. Errol.
And I still listen to Raja on a Sunday night, and I know what he says about Reform.
We know you watch because you comment.
So apparently it's at the regional level that these decisions have been made to blacklist me. No one from the regional level has spoken to me. And I would ordinarily have no need to speak with anyone at a regional level because I'd go straight to the top. But he says, your group are here to disrupt. I don't know who his group is or what your group is, but your group are here to disrupt. And you can just finish it off and I'll tell you what's gone on.
I know, dude. And I've donated to him as well.
Yep.
I've got nothing.
So what's the crack? You donate, you comment, you watch him, but...
And I went to the Christmas do as well.
Yeah, I saw you. Stop talking to you.
You're a bit of an hypocrite then, fella, aren't you? Bit of a two-face.
Phone won't have him, it's not your choice.
What's going on?
Can I just say, wait,
Why am I put up on my Facebook page when I'm going to vote for you? And yet I can't see what's going on and can't help. Why? You've got to question that somewhere, haven't you? Which is what I've done tonight. So I questioned that tonight. He didn't give me an answer. So why did not give me an answer? Open, transparent democracy.
I've seen other bits. I don't want to share them. I don't think it's in anyone's interest to share them because it takes it to a darker place. I've seen messages from the committee member, the chair of the committee, Paul Eric, to politicians in the town, smearing me, saying if you hang out with me, if you work with me, then there'll be trouble. And I can deal with all of that. I'm not bothered. What I won't accept is what they then did, which is start to spread text messages saying Reform's lawyers are going to get me if anyone speaks with me. The only people I'm going and speaking with are survivors, whistleblowers. I'm confronting people in my own community at immense risk. I got a phone call from a friend of mine last night who told me he can no longer protect me. And I need to talk less about the rape gangs. And I told him I value his friendship, but I will never look the other way whilst children are being raped. I'm the only person who's dwelled into this in the way where I have explained and articulated what's took place so everyone now understands it better. Racially motivated, religiously justified, anti-working class contempt, and the selling of children for votes, political convenience, political benefit. And I look at it and I think, okay, what do I want? I spoke with, and you've been here, and I know the councillors listen to me. I've spoke with Conservative councillors, I've spoke with independent councillors. I've encouraged them to join Reform. I've done that in front of you. I know 2 weeks ago, the independents in Failsworth had a vote. 18-2, they voted in support of joining Reform. Switching sides. I know Conservative councillors who have spoken with Reform to switch sides. And the reason I want this to happen is because I genuinely believe that we can inform and influence a national party such as Reform earlier on, and they, you know, if they represent what we talk about, then it's for us to believe them and go on a journey with them. and try and inform and shape what they do. And then, selfish. Raja, you're being selfish. Sorry, I've got something wrong with my camera. It's done with now. You can see it. There's a blemish on the side. I don't know what that is. I'll get that solved. Selfishly, my position is, we know children are being raped and tortured. Thank you. We know that is taking place. We know Oldham is going to be one of the epicenters where the National Inquiry has to investigate. We know that. We also know that there's an inquiry already underway, which is running parallel, that hasn't got the powers, that has been rigged from the start. I need a team of counsellors in there as soon as possible. I can't wait until May next year. I need a team of counsellors in there who understand this, that can work together, who can challenge, critique, scrutinise and make sure that whatever that inquiry looks like in Oldham is brought to an end, and one with the statutory powers initiated in the town. And I genuinely believed that we could get a couple of the independents, a couple of the Conservatives together, form a reform group. Not only would they speak well in the council chamber, do the work around the grooming gangs, rape gangs, sorry. I call them rape gangs, it's the grooming gangs because of the YouTube censorship. That then it would make it easier next May to get more reform council candidates as councillors, and it would also mean that we'd have decent councillors championing reform right now, who then would counter some of the racist nonsense that has been too often shared. Does anyone see fault with that strategy? Does anyone see fault with that strategy? So what these guys have been doing, of which Gary's one of them, and he's here, he'll tell you himself of his own volition. They've been going to the reform meetings as members and asking questions. And they've been branded trouble causers. And I think, from what I can work out, is that there was meant to be an AGM a couple of weeks ago, and that AGM got cancelled because people put themselves forward for positions, and there'd have to be a vote. So Paul Eric and his team have cancelled the AGMs, and now they are suspending people, are trying to suspend people, throwing them off their Facebook pages. Not only is this not democracy, this isn't what reform stands for. This isn't what reform stands for. And there's no one in reform at a senior enough level who's questioned my leadership. I think it's clear what my leadership has got us to. And there's no one in reform that is saying I'm divisive or has blacklisted me because I'm scheduled to talk at reform events for the next few months. So that's what's gone on. And I've got stuff, it's a lot worse. But that is what has gone on. And I honestly think, if you ask me, I just think a group of people have just jumped on the reform bandwagon and are trying to control it for themselves. So I don't believe, now having looked at it and seen the other videos that come through, none of these are instructions from Reform head office. This is the mischief making at a local level. And I hope, Terry, that that is what happens. I've made my position clear. I'll write to David Bull tomorrow myself and say the local branch of Reform now has to be suspended and investigated. Because this is not, it's not fair politics, it's dirty, I get that. This isn't right, guys. You do whatever it is you're doing. My focus is on the rape gang inquiry. My focus is on making sure that the public inquiry, the terms of reference we can influence, the judge we can influence, the work we can influence, hold it to task wherever it needs to be held to task. And yes, I will be divisive. I will cause division, of course I will. Because the Labour Party don't want me anywhere near this. Let me end that there. So please, if Reform's lawyers are really here, I urge you, suspend your local branch. Because it's out of control and what they're doing is out of order. The town deserves better. Thanks, Trevor. I don't live in Oldham, Denise. I don't live in Oldham. I get on well with the Tameside Reform team. I'm meeting them on Tuesday. I'm in London tomorrow and I'm meeting them on Tuesday. I don't think I talked about an MP linked to the rape gangs. I think what I meant was I sit on the rape gang inquiry team alongside a number of MPs who also sit on the rape gang inquiry team, cross-party. And I bet the Labour Party are indeed loving this. And thank you, Joanna. Because I'm disappointed. I don't want to waste my time doing this shit. And I've only had to react and respond because I'd reached out to Reform and I got nothing back. And then these messages are going out. If I show videos, Reform's lawyers will come after me. The only videos I'm interested in showing are the ones that exposes the rape gangs and shares the testimonies of children, survivors and their parents, and whistleblowers. Let me play a video for you.
Waterhead Academy. Waterhead Academy. Let me tell you about this school. And by the way, this was the only video I'd planned. So with my friends at Oldham Reform, the local branch of Reform, have got their heavyweight lawyers involved to prosecute me, then I'll let the people who are listening to this video decide why it is that they are wanting to prosecute me. Because this is the only story I had planned on sharing this week. And like all of my stories, they are to do with the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our children and the political culture that allowed this to happen. That gets me arrested, prosecuted. Lads, join the queue. There's far more powerful people than any of you lot. who've been trying to lock me away for sharing these stories. Waterhead Academy.
You've never seen a pillow like this before.
Have
Have
you
you heard
the
about
adverts
Gorilla Ergo?
for it?
It's the cutting-edge ergonomic pillow that people actually...
It was one of those new schools built in Oldham after the 2001 riots. So the riots were known as race riots, and what essentially took place was when the government looked into it, they decided that the reason, or one of the main reasons the riots took place, was that people were leading parallel lives in this town. And because one community did not positively interact with another, it created a space where far-right extremist narratives could get hold, and before you knew it, everything erupted. So the council being the council, the government being the government, decided that they would deal with this through a series of initiatives that I would call social engineering. And what they did was they shut down across the town a number of secondary schools. And the two that they shut down to create this Waterhead Academy was Count Hill School, which was predominantly white and working class, just on the outskirts of an area of Oldham called Sherwood, and Breeze Hill School, which was predominantly Pakistani, with in the main children from the notorious Glodic area of Oldham attending. So they shut those two schools down and created this, and Newsnight were all over it, doing this documentary of following the kids and all of that nonsense. And they created this school. And what happened with this school, what you need to understand that happened with this school, was they needed to make it work. They needed to make it look like integration was working. And the consequences of that, in particular for the children from the white working class communities, the consequences of that was devastating. Because they covered up gang rape of children. That's what this school did. It covered up the gang rape of children. Now, we already knew that the old Count Hill School, the Pakistani taxi drivers had moved in and they were picking up girls from outside the school gates. The older Asian boys were grooming the younger ones and passing them on to the uncles to rape, drug and traffic. It's a well-known story. So this school did not open in a vacuum of them not knowing, the senior leadership not knowing what was taking place. But it made it worse, because when this school opened, it opened up a new group of white families into this school from the nearby Greenacres area, sort of a lower middle class white area, not in tune with some of the aggressive interactions that the white working class had endured with their Pakistani neighbours at Count Hill School. So a whole host of white young girls came to this school who'd been raised the right way. Raised not to be racist, raised to be accepting of people who are different, and raised, not to carry prejudices with them. It was the worst thing that could have happened for many of them, because straight away the older Pakistani boys worked out that here was a naive, ignorant demographic, new girls that they could target, that they could groom. So they groomed these girls, made them as though they were their girlfriends. And these were boys at the time, remember, slightly older, but boys. So they were partners in what was taking place. Let's be very clear. The 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, year 10, year 11 Pakistani boys were 100% partners in what was going on. And they would take them from here to somewhere like Alexander Park, groom them where they'd be separated from their families. So the families didn't know any better. They were racist, they were prejudices, they loved them. So that was the grooming element. And once they'd separated these poor children from their families, from their support structure, all from this school, by the way, they introduced these girls to the older cousins, took them to parties, introduced them to drugs, cannabis to start with, heroin as they moved on, and before you know it, these very middle class girls, decent kids from stable families, had been groomed, just like that, separated from their families, and they were being driven around in cars, sold from one man to another, from one takeaway to another takeaway, from one town to another, and all the time the authorities knew. And do you know what the authorities did to middle class parents who sent their children here? To appreciate diversity, to integrate. Instead of intervening and safeguarding these children, the council sent these parents on parenting courses. They needed to learn to become better parents. And if they didn't become better parents, their children would be took off them and put into care. So instead of going after the sophisticated Pakistani rape gangs, they targeted the parents. And over time, just as is always the case, now given a mandate to do what they do, the Pakistani gangs got braver. And they would come to this school, to this very car park to the side of me, and they would pick up the girls from outside the school. There's a horrific story of a teacher that tried to stop what took place. He died not long ago, an alcoholic, no doubt traumatized by what had took place. How he was out on the front of the school at closing time trying to stop it, but the authorities knew, the school knew, and the school covered it up. And at the time, this school was one of the beacon schools. It was championed by a man called Alan Francis. Alan Francis had previously worked for the council during the tenure of Jim McMahon and all of that. So this is a close-knit establishment that did everything possible to hide and cover up. They were known as messenger girls. No one will tell me how many children from this school were took away in cars parked outside to be taken away to be gang raped. No one knows how many men were involved. The girls I've spoken to, well, one used the term hundreds. One used the word hundreds, and that would be a low estimate, is what she said. Now, none of these people have been prosecuted, none of the staff here have been prosecuted, but this was endemic in the culture of this school and remains endemic to this day. There's two other stories I want to share with you about this school. One is how a lot of the pastoral staff were Muslim, were Asian, were Muslim, were Bangladeshi or Pakistani, and how one day the police pulled up outside looking for a member of staff, a pastoral member of staff. I'll name him. His name is Shaheen. He's one of Kamran Ghaffar, that's Councillor Kamran Ghafar's Bangladeshi bag carriers. You know, the ones who come after me, and the reason why they come after me is because I think in the end they probably have questions themselves to answer about their behaviour and their own personal lives, but that's another story. What the police did, they pulled up outside, they went in looking for a member of staff. His mates warned him, he ran out the back, got in the car and ran away. They wanted to speak to him for domestic violence. The school should have intervened straight away, suspended him, sacked him.
So there you go. If you find value in my work, and all I did was take a camera up there, and that was the only video I was involved in this week. If you find value in my work and you are new to me, my name is Raj Amir. I have been at this now for just under 7 years. And when I mean this, it is exposing the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children across, first and foremost, my town, Oldham. We exposed the cover-up. We forced our council after 6 years to write to the government for a national inquiry. They refused. We used that letter, released it. Charlie Peters picked up on it. Elon Musk picked up on it. So when I have the front, shall I say, to suggest that I had some role in forcing the national inquiry, that's where I come from. And of course I talked about the national inquiry right from the beginning, the public inquiry. And no, I didn't go to the march because I'm a political campaigner. I look at outcomes. What is the outcome I want? and what will get me to deliver that outcome. And that's the way I operate. I mean, I'm not criticising other people. They operate the way they operate. This is the way I operate. I'm a political campaigner. Talking about being a political campaigner, I want to talk about, it's not just Waterhead School. The National Inquiry has to incorporate schools as a distinct theme. Time after time after time, I'm hearing the same stories. Children being picked up outside school gates. Taxi drivers lining up outside. Schools knowing, threatening the parents. The parent I spoke to this week, she was instructed to go on a parenting course or else. Her child's been gang raped, lured away and gang raped, and the mother and the father are being told they need a parenting course. And there'll be tens of thousands of stories like this, and schools need to have a distinct strand within the National Inquiry. They'll resist it, and we'll campaign for it. I want to talk to you now about Operation Sherwood. Operation Sherwood is Greater Manchester Police's response 2011, 2010 to 2014, I think. Let me bring up the story. Sorry, my camera's annoying me. It's dropped or tilted. Something happened. I touched it earlier, is what's happened. Two more rape arrests in child abuse inquiry. That's the front door, you can see. Two more men have been arrested on suspicion of raping a child more than 10 years ago as part of an investigation into historical sexual abuse of several girls in Oldham. The suspects, aged 38 and 40, were detained earlier at different houses after detectives from Greater Manchester Police identified a potential survivor and approached her about the case, the force said. The men were the latest to be arrested in Operation Sherwood, which focuses on abuse of girls in the town between 2011 and 14. So that's the exact time period of the assurance review. So Operation Sherwood only took place because we forced the assurance review. Even though it was a cover-up, this is what they tried to do to contain us, which is why every time they go and make arrests, they take the press with them, to make it look like they're doing something. Assistant Chief Constable Steph Parker said officers had arrested 12 people in the past 3 months as part of the investigation. She said there were complex cases, but the force was doing everything we can to piece together evidence. We'll not allow the passage of time to be a barrier, she added. They're rewriting history, by the way, but that's by the by. Operation Sherwood was launched following a critical report that found authorities, including police, had failed to protect vulnerable young people in Oldham from abuse. When we started our campaign, they claimed it was barefaced lies. And this is a photograph from the meeting, by the way. That's sent to me. That's Paul Eric and that's Paul Taylor. Let's show you the video first. And now maybe just listen to my little video I did outside the house. So this is the house, or one of the properties this morning, not the police raided as part of Operation Sherwood. Now, you all know my position, Operation Sherwood. I think it's a complete scam. They had the journalists ready so they could photograph and drag this lad away and thought, great, look at what we're doing. Amazing, isn't it? We're taking action. Well, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham to this day refuses to confirm how many people have actually been charged as a consequence of Operation Sherwood, let alone prosecuted. So this is one of the properties behind me. This is actually a Bangladeshi man, and there's a story I need to share with you about this. I always thought this guy was a drug dealer. I'll be honest with you. From what I've seen, I always thought this guy was a drug dealer. But what is very, very interesting in terms of the drugs links with the rape gangs is that there's always been a religious undercurrent with some of them. Well, guess what? This lad is arrested here. The Manchester Evening News won't tell you. He owns one of the local takeaways around the corner. But more than that, his father is an imam. That's right, his father is an imam in a mosque. There you go. We're on a journey. We want postal vote reform, I think is what I want to see, Darcy. We want postal votes as it stands to be banned. We want to get some evidence together the next couple of years, and then for it to be in reform, the Conservatives manifesto. So that's what we want there. Here, this video I did was because it was opposite my mum's house, believe it or not. It's opposite my mum's house, my sister's house now, really, not my mum's house, still call it my mum's house. Opposite my sister's house. The guy's a drug dealer. I've always known he was a drug dealer. I've seen it with my own eyes. But, you know, you don't say anything because you don't want the trouble on your doorstep, do you? And the authorities clearly knew. But they arrested him as part of a CSE operation. They say the 11th and 12th for Operation Sherwood. They won't say how many people have been charged, which I assume then means not a single person has been charged. Because if anyone had been charged, anyone had been convicted, they'd be shouting and screaming about it. His dad is the local imam, George. So that's who his dad is. His dad is the local imam. And this is where it got... I got a couple of phone calls of people who said, Raj, are you doing too much? No. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm doing everything that's right. And actually what should happen is that the mosques should speak out against it. The community centres should speak out against it. The community organisations should speak out against it. And to my Muslim brethren who are watching this, and why should they? Well, here you go. During the election, your muftis, here they are, Mufti Faoud. So all of these attacked me, by the way, and issued this letter. Mufti Faoud, Maulana Sheikh Amin, Maulana Akmal, Maulana Muminur, Mufti Dilwar, Maulana Faisal Yaqub, Maulana Atiq, all issued a letter, essentially a fatwa, instructions, saying who to vote for in the general election. And it was, of course, the Pakistani sectarian Islamist one-state solution, eradicate Israel candidate they wanted in. And as a disclaimer at the bottom, we speak as British citizens and residents of Oldham, not as religious leaders. Yet every one of them that wrote this letter and sent it out was as a religious leader. Is a religious leader. So they wanted Zafar Iqbal elected. Well, lads, was your letter condemning the rape of little white girls? Come on, your muftis and your maulanas. Was your letter condemning the gang rape of little white girls? Was your letter as religious experts, because you are the religious experts, I'm not a religious expert, was your letter as religious experts confirming, educating people to say he can't have sex slaves, no to concubines, no to sex slaves? And I say that in the context of the guys who were convicted last week. They are, sex slaves with these little girls. No letter, is there? Was your marches? Was your rallies? I don't do marches or rallies. I'll make an exception. And this is why we are in the position we are. Only 2 weeks ago, the Oldham group in my town, the Pakistani sectarians, issued a Facebook post where they made reference to grooming gangs as so-called grooming gangs. Until the community I come from accepts that there is a problem within that community, racially motivated, religiously justified, This does not take away from the other gang rape of children or the other child abuse elsewhere. Trying to deflect is not going to change what's happening here. We need to own it. And if there is religious doctrine that it legitimizes it, we need to counter that. The Molanas and the Muftis need to do that. And if they don't, they're complicit. You can march for Palestine, but you can't march against the gang rape of little girls on your doorsteps. No. Maybe it's a little bit too close to home. Maybe it's a little too close to home. I hope you found value in this evening's transmission. My apologies about the camera ring. I'll get that solved. I hope you found value. Please do support me. Our numbers have increased. We passed the 5,000 barrier. I think a few of you asked. We passed the 5,000 barrier. In fact, I'll tell you now what our numbers are up to. We're up to 5,129. I mean, it's slow. It's a trickle, but we've passed the 5,001. So thank you so much. I mean, and that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm in London tomorrow. I'm in a podcast tomorrow, so I'm catching a train to London. I won't be home till about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. On Tuesday, I'm meeting the Reform friends in Tameside. And I want to do a Freedom of Information workshop. I really want to do a Freedom of Information workshop with you guys. We'll tidy up 3 or 4 Freedom of Information requests. So please do send them me, email me, put them up here, Facebook, X, whatever you want, what you'd like some Freedom of Information questions, and I'll work on that and we'll do a masterclass. We'll do a workshop together. Rewriting history, George, is what Arud Shah's doing. And on Wednesday, I think I'm meant to be in Stockport somewhere. So I've got a busy week. I've got a whole host of survivors to speak with. And no, I'd love to write a book. I've not had the time yet. My friend Louise has offered me, she's Italian, is Louise, or part of her is. She's offered me the use of a little house she has. And if I could take a few weeks off, I would take it off and I would go and maybe write it. It is, mate. It is that. And I make no, it's not light-hearted when I say I wake up every day and I make the most of it, because I'm not sure whether I'll get to my bed at night. And I won't stop doing what I do. I just wish to my friends in Reform, end this madness. I am not your enemy. I have never wanted to be enemy. And I am not going to support your enemies use me against you. I'm not interested. I'm interested in getting this over the line. I've invested over 6 years of my life. Been in and out of police cells. You've done none of this, lads. As for not being a leader, I think I'm a different sort of leader. Sort your branch out. Suspend it. Because I will not allow anyone, whoever it is, to interfere with our ability in the rape gang inquiry to go and speak to witnesses and survivors and draw testimony out, because it is vital that the rape gang inquiry does its job to make sure that the national inquiry does its job, and I'll do a workshop on that as well. Thank you so much. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.